Well, as a Victorian, as a Melburnian, how are you feeling this morning?
Oh, not too good, to be honest with you, Pete. It's going to be a really tough 6 weeks for Melburnians, particularly. We've been through this before in lockdown 1, which was statewide a couple of months ago. I guess back then, people were, really sort of doing this in a sense that we were doing it together and sacrificing and making the effort. And we sort of find ourselves, and we suppress the virus as we have across Australia. And I think Australians have done a fantastic job. And now Victorians have to make this effort again. And it's always harder, that second effort, isn't it? In sport, in life, when, you were going back to some sort of normality. But on a lighter note, you're up there in Sydney, aren't you, Pete?
Yes.
You're in Sydney, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah, no, I was going to say, even down here in Melbourne, in citywide lockdown, Melburnians can still get a better coffee, takeaway coffee, than they can ever get up there where you are.
Well, I mean, you got to take your wins where you can get them, Pete, and we just do have a little bit of a delay there for the people at home. We are aware of that, but Peter, just back to on the business side of things, mental health is going to be an issue here, isn't it? Because as you mentioned there, you're off and running. It looked as though you'd got ahead of the virus. You can open up the cafes, restaurants again. You can start to get some cash going, and then all of a sudden, the carpet has been completely taken out from under you. And this may cause businesses who somehow survived the first lockdown that they may not make it the second time around. So how does this affect the mental mindset of people and businesses in particular?
That's true. That's very true. I mean, the small business owners that I've spoken to are really obviously quite anxious, frustrated. They're all getting ready, the pubs, the restaurants, the cafes, to open up again to larger numbers. Now they've got to contract again into just takeaway. Some of them will really struggle to survive. I talked to them about who can get JobKeeper in the business and who's got access to it and all of that. I mean, on that note, we really are calling on the federal government to extend JobKeeper, not just for Victorians, I think Australia-wide, for businesses to keep going through this period. But there's a lot of frustration too, and you mentioned mental health. That is a really important issue. We're in the middle of winter, and it's a Victorian winter, so one thing you guys up there in Sydney do have better than us is a little bit better weather. It's a hard winter down here, and so people are going back into this lockdown in the middle of July, in the most difficult period. So I think mental health services and support is really going to be quite important to keep people going, and especially parents too have to go back to remote learning.
Is there a situation here too, Peter, where governments need to be careful once more, because the cure can sometimes be worse than the problem, particularly when, as you mentioned there, we're coming into winter months now and people can get a bit more depressed than they may well have done because of this second round of lockdowns?
Yeah, well, I mean, the state government's made a decision to go to this strict lockdown, this stage 3 lockdown, because the numbers of infections have risen to a level where the estimates are that if we don't check that, and if Victorians don't practice this sort of lockdown, these social restrictions during this 6-week period, the estimates are there could be 3,000 new cases a day. I saw that in the papers this morning or more. We don't want to be there. And I know it is really hard for people to go back and do these restrictions again, but we have to do it because we're looking at a situation of actually saving lives, which we have done in Victoria, which we've done in Australia. Now, everyone's going to want to blame someone and blame the government, blame the state government, blame the people who didn't, the individuals who did the wrong thing. Yet mistakes have been made, Pete. We know the Ruby Princess in New South Wales, in Victoria, the security guard issue with the clusters that formed from that. Mistakes have been made. But on the whole, state governments and the federal government in Australia, and I'm talking relative to overseas, Australians have done a tremendous job, a terrific job in restricting or suppressing the virus and putting ourselves in a position where we can get back into some sort of economic activity as we ease restrictions and open up. Now, that's taken a setback. There's no doubt about that. There's been a big hit to the Victorian economy and to the Australian economy with this particular lockdown. But the question is, what's the right balance as far as saving lives and the economy? These are decisions being made by our elected leaders, both state and federal level. People can criticise them. It is a free country. We can have that debate, and we're doing that now.
Yep, I don't envy those people who have got to make those decisions. Very tough decisions indeed, and a little bit of sympathy probably for Josh Frydenberg at the moment, who's probably got to change his forecast and change his numbers now for his report that's coming out in a couple of weeks, and how that affects JobKeeper, JobSeeker, and all the rest of it. But Peter Khalil, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for joining us. We will talk to you again soon.